funniest things happened. I can sit here and truthfully say that I'm proud to be a conservative. I know. It's crazy. In 2025, who would have thought? Who would have thought that I would have said that? Who would have thought anybody would be saying that? But a lot of people are. After this year's Conservative Party conference, and I want to talk about it. Listen, welcome back to Playing in Politics. It's been a while. First of all, I'm sure there are a lot of people just weren't listening to that intro at all because you're going, Anna, what have you done to your hair? Yeah, I dyed my hair a little bit. It's looking edgy. It's looking kind of cool. I'm very proud of myself. So that's one thing. Secondly, I know I haven't uploaded a video, like an actual podcast episode on this channel for about a month now. My last full episode was about when Charlie Kirk died, and I was not doing too hot. If you go back and watch that video, you can tell I was not doing very well. And to be honest, that was the attitude from a lot of people in the commentary space as well. This year's just been insane, life's been crazy, some stuff happened. Somebody tried to report me to my work, which I'm not going to disclose where I work, but somebody tried to report me to work for one of my episodes, specifically a comment that was left by one of you lovely subscribers, and I was pulled in. I was basically almost censored by like free speech police type rules. I just want to disclaim on this channel that we are open to everybody. We have open and honest discussions about issues going on in the world, issues going on in the UK, regardless of religion, race, whatever. We're not racist on here, okay? We are not discriminatory in any way unless you are committing a crime, in which case we don't like you. But anything else, we are very open on this channel. We do not spread hate. We do not genuinely spread hate on this channel. This is not what we're about. We're about open and honest discussion. And, you know, as Charlie Kirk very famously said, as soon as we stop talking, that's when free speech dies. And that is something that I echoed in that video. A lot of people have been echoing that sentiment recently, and it's something that is the fundamental pillar of this channel and pretty much everybody that does commentary. So I am so glad to be back. Genuinely very excited to be filming a podcast episode today because, as I say, the revival is here. I feel so ignited with blue spirit again, which is something that I never thought that I would be able to say in 2025, okay? Tory party conference is something that I look forward to every year, and the effect that this one had is unlike any other. If you're new to this channel, by the way, I will start getting into the makeup because this is what this channel is about. If you're new here, welcome to Playing in Politics. My name's Anna, hello. This channel, basically, we talk about politics and I do my makeup at the same time. It's like Bailey Sarian, but without the murder. Sometimes. It's been a crazy year. So yeah, essentially today I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a commentary, because I know not a lot of people in the commentary space will necessarily be party political, at least not party political anymore. Some people were, some people aren't anymore, some people are going towards reform, and we'll talk about that. But what was my attitude going into this? And I think if you've been on my channel for any length of time, over the past sort of few weeks and months, you've probably gathered that my attitude towards party politics went downhill a little bit. Let's just say that. I went into this year's party conference incredibly pessimistic. Like, I could not have looked down on the party or anything to do with party politics more if I tried. Like, I was so ready to genuinely resign my membership at the end of the year. Like, I was saying this to people, I was saying this to myself and other people. I'm like, literally, I'm going to see people. Like, when I was talking to my friends about, like, oh, I'm so, you know, excited to be, like, to see you again at party conference, that was literally what we were all saying, was that we're going for the social aspect, I'm going to see friends, I'm going to be social, and then that's it. Like, we're seeing how things go, but there was no grain of optimism. And this is the thing, I think a lot of people have it in their heads that if somebody's conservative, then they're just die-hard conservative, and, you know, it's an echo chamber, and nobody's going to be calling anything out, and everyone's going to be thinking the same thing, and we're all going to be bowing down to whoever's, you know, leader, and, you know, we'll be spreading all these same narratives, you know, up with the rich, down with the poor, all that stuff that people like to parade around over the decades. And truly, I can tell you, and I think, you know, I was saying that, I think I mentioned this in podcast episodes before, is that was really not the attitude. The amount of people who were so sort of out of hope and sort of down to their luck about politics And it was interesting as well to hear some people, like some fellow conservatives, be like, yeah, I don't tell people that I'm conservative, like, right away. Like, I let people, you know, like, I'd maybe drop it in the conversation, but, like, I just don't tell people. And I was like, I've been like that ever since I joined the friggin' party, pretty much. Like, okay, when I first joined, like, during the Boris era, I was a little bit more proud of it, because it was exciting and it was new and I was like 18, but as the years have gone on, yeah, and like towards the end of us being in power, then yeah, that was exactly my attitude, was towards this, was, yeah, I don't want to tell people, I just want to, you know, I'll have political debates, but I won't like disclose my party affiliation unless I, you know, feel really comfortable to do so, and it's something I really, really want to do, because it is a scary thing to do, is to admit you're conservative, especially with, you know, us being like not very popular for valid reasons. It was definitely tough being a Tory. That was actually something, because I did a couple of interview TikToks for a couple of organisations. One was for The Observer, and then the other one was, the guy said it was the Metro. I don't know if AllRightGov, which is the account that it was for, is associated with Metro. I don't know, but I did like a flashcard reaction TikTok, which I don't know if I'll put up now or I'll link it in the description or something, but it was very fun to do, and it kind of ticked off my like be in press or something at party conference, because I've never done anything like that before, so it was very fun to do. But that was something that the Observer people were actually asking us, was, you know, is it like tough being a Tory? And we pretty much all said, well, yeah, it's always been tough being a Tory. Like, it's never not been tough being a Tory. Like, there's always been disclaimers, there's always been caveats that have to come with it. And recently, over the past sort of year, has been no exception. You know, we've been always wiped out by reform, and a lot of people, you know, their attitude towards, especially those who are councillors, and I've talked extensively on this channel about the importance of local politics, and I will continue to do so during this episode, because I think it's a very important pillar of politics in the UK. But those who are councillors, you know, they're trying to protect their seats, so of course they're going to be thinking about where they're going to go if they feel like they can't stick with the Conservatives for whatever reason. You know, they want to keep their jobs, they want to protect their constituents against people who don't necessarily have the best intentions towards their local community and their local area, and maybe aren't gonna treat it very well, then yeah, of course that's gonna be their first thing that they jump to, is like, yeah, I want to be with people and with a party that I know I'm gonna be safe with. So hence a lot of people have jumped to reform. Now, I have talked quite a lot on this channel about my distrust for reform. I have done pretty much since this channel's conception, because I've just never, there's always been something, and a woman's intuition is something you should never ever deny. There's always been something deep down with me when it comes to reform that has always said to me, never ever trust them, don't go near them, they do not have your best intentions at heart, something's gonna happen that's gonna expose them in a massive way. And I was telling this to people at conference when I was there, because a lot of people actually had the same thoughts as me, but obviously as we covered on this channel, everything that happened with Rupert Lowe earlier this year, and the whole scandal towards that, and it's just got worse since then. And obviously with Nigel's recent comments about scrapping indefinite leave to remain is something that I do wholeheartedly downright do not support, because it's ridiculous. It's not that he's scrapping indefinite leave to remain for those coming into the UK new, he'd be scrapping it for those who are already in the UK, those who have already been through the process, who have come here legally. Again, that's the thing, that like indefinite leave to remain is mainly something that's utilised by legal migrants, which, okay, there's a conversation to be had about maybe we're getting like too many illegal migrants, but I think that's not the problem. Like that fundamentally is not where the issue is in this country with migration. Like, it is illegal migration, like leave the legal ones alone. Like, you speak to legal migrants and they are the ones who have integrated, who are building a life and have built a life and a family and a career and are very, very hardworking and love this country. Like that, those are the people who are also getting very annoyed about the whole illegal migrant process, people coming in and just being given a load of things for free when they've had to go through a sometimes kind of invasive process of getting indefinite leave to remain and staying here. Like, it is a tough process, and Nigel Farage's theories about, oh, it needs to be tougher is stupid and hypocritical. And I think we've talked on the channel about how I think he's a hypocrite and is going against everything that he ever really stood for. when it comes to migration and like the illegal migration thing. He's gone completely like flip 180 and it keeps going around in a circle, it feels like, with kind of how he feels. It kind of flip-flops more than Keir Starmer does, or at least used to do when he was in opposition. But when it comes to that whole situation, like, he continuously is just exposing himself to just be an absolute hypocrite, as I say. So I'm constantly feeling like completely vindicated when it comes to reform and the way that they keep messing up. So it is a little bit sad that we keep seeing people defecting over there. However, at the same time, at least when it first started, I was like, well, I kind of understand it. But then as it's got worse and the things that they've said have got worse, and Nigel Farage has been the leader of it, and it's just got worse and worse and worse, as I say, with the things that they've been coming out with, I've become less and less sympathetic. It's like, it's quite clearly there, just in front of everybody, that they are not to be trusted and they are not kind of the new right. Like, no, this is not anything. Although, isn't that UKIP's new slogan is like the new right? Because they've had a logo change and everything, and I hate the new logo, by the way. It kind of looks a little bit like the Nazi symbol. Just saying, that cross in the middle is a bit suspicious. But that's kind of their new slogan, isn't it? Like, the new right. And hell, like, Nick Cody's a cool guy. We've talked about him on the channel before. Fair enough if that's... I'm waiting to see more from them. But I hate the new logo. But, like, as I say, Reform, especially under Farage, have been trying to market themselves as the new right. And have always kind of done that. But when they're quite clear, like, quite blatantly corrupt, and it's, like, literally right in front of your face, it's like, how can you keep going with this? Like, how can you continue to be a part of them? How can you continue to support them? And I get it, because obviously the public are very supportive of Reform, and, you know, they see them as kind of the beaming light of hope in this country. But those who actually have their heads screwed on correctly and can see the wood for the trees, quite clearly seeing this for what it is, and are quite rightly, like me, not touching them with a barge pole. So that was what I was left with, was coming into conference. It was, well, see what happens. If I'm invigorated, if I feel like, you know, my pride has been revived, then I will stay with the party. But if not, then, you know, I think my membership in renews around my birthday. But I was telling myself, like, if I don't feel revived, then at the end of the year, I'll just cancel my membership. Like, that was the attitude that I had. And I knew that, you know, there were, my friends, as I say, were like, okay, well, if I'm feeling not revived, then I'm going to have to be forced to go over to Reform, because that's how I'm going to save my seat. I don't want to, but that's how it is. And I'm like, you know what, fair enough, I'm not going to judge you for that, even though I will judge you a little bit because it's Reform, and I'll still call out Reform for being Reform, and Nigel for being Nigel. But, you know, I was like, I get it, I completely get it, you know, don't, it's, you know, it's fine. But the attitude that I came out with was very different. And this is why I was so excited to make this video, because I feel like this needs to be talked about more. And there are a few things that I want to talk about here that, like, are just points that I've always kind of felt about the Conservative Party, and Robert Jenrick specifically as well, and just overall my experience of conference this year, which I just feel like it just brought some hope to the kind of people really that we have behind the Conservatives. So yeah, again, I went there to be social. Like, that was my main thing. And, you know, my main social circle anyway, as an almost 25-year-old, a lot of it is due to politics. Like, a lot of my friends I met through politics, a lot of my close friends, and as much as they're sort of scattered all over the country, party conference is the one place where we kind of come together, and I feel like, okay, I'm going to be around people that I agree with, that I, you know, accept socially, and socially accept me. It's just a great environment. Although, because of all, like, the pessimism around conference, I was very nervous that it was going to be really, really depressing. And to be honest, when I first got there, in the first few hours of the Sunday, it was that. It was incredibly depressing. And I'm sure that people, if you're watching this video, if you went to conference, you could probably agree with me that it was incredibly, incredibly slow. And over the past couple of years, there have been less and less people that's like, oh, this person I know isn't coming, or these people I know aren't coming, and, you know, so there's people who just don't bother coming anymore, and we can't blame them. We really, really can't blame them, because the party's gone downhill, the attitude towards the party's gone downhill, and to be honest, the funding behind a lot of like the receptions and stuff has just not been there. It was in Manchester this year, and the last time it was in Manchester was 2023, and people always hail specifically the Northern reception, which if you're a Conservative then you'll know, but if you're not then you don't know. So during the evening, after everyone's like been to all the debate panels and it's kind of, you know, getting towards the evening, then that's when the receptions will happen. So that's often sponsored by like an organisation or some kind of Conservative think tank, and basically it'll be in a certain area and there'll be free drinks and maybe music depending on what it is, and there'll be some special guest, it's usually like an MP that people are really looking forward to meeting and hearing speak and stuff. And it's a, you know, a lot of the time conference is one of those things where you wait for the evening and then it picks up. That's just kind of what happened. The Northern reception, out of all of the conference receptions, is the one that people look forward to the most, because it is, in the past, has been like the most jumping. Like it has like the best music and it goes on to like the other hours. It's basically just like a good party time. It's the most popular reception. This past couple of years, however, it has just not been the case. Now, I didn't stay for a lot of the 2023 Northern reception because, and as I said in my actually podcast episode, one of the first episodes I actually made was about 2023's conference. And as I said in that video, I was dealing with a lot of like friend drama. Unfortunately, the friends I was around were bringing a lot of personal stuff into conference, and it was my job to kind of look after everybody. So I was very stressed out for those few days. It was not a fun time. So this year I was trying to really like look forward to it. However, last year's Northern reception was absolutely dire. It was very clear that they'd lost all their sponsors and it was just very dull. It was like there was no real, like there wasn't a DJ. I mean, the room that they have it in the ICC is very big and it's very sort of atmospheric, so the atmosphere was great and the kind of lighting was there, but there was nothing. And they made us pay 15 quid this year, so we were all thinking, oh, maybe it's gonna be better, maybe this is gonna be like, woohoo, that revival. It wasn't. It was, again, it was just not good. It just wasn't good, and yeah, so it wasn't the greatest start, okay, in terms of the actual event itself and the social aspect. It did pick up, however, and we are going to get into this. The people that I met, again, a lot of my friends I know through politics, and quite a few of them are councillors, or I'll meet fellow councillors through my friends. And again, their attitude was, we don't really know where we're going. This is all a very scary time. We've got by-elections that we're losing people in, you know, this is all very scary time. And it was interesting because it was interesting to see their attitude change as well, first of all, but it was also very interesting just to see how many people were interested in the actual panels and the speeches and things, specifically Kemi versus Robert Jenrick. And this is the interesting thing, because this time last year, obviously last year's conference, as I think I mentioned on this channel, I think I made a video about the conference last year. I know I didn't make like a specific episode about it, but I think I did mention it, was the fact that last year's conference was completely surrounded by the leadership election. And that's what they managed to get people hyped for. Like, that was how they managed to get people to even go to conference, was because they were like, hey, you know, this is going to be like the hustings for the leadership election. Really, like, the main hustings are going to be at party conference. Like, this is going to be your opportunity to really show your support. And it was, you know, I have, if you guys didn't know, I think I've mentioned this on the channel before, but during last year's leadership election, I was initially incredibly pro Tom Tugendhat. At first, that was my first choice. I thought he was brilliant. After hearing him speak at a dinner in Bolton about the fact that he managed to get TikTok banned on MPs' phones, and he was talking about the China and like the risk from the CCP in terms of security, because that was the department that he worked in at the time, and I was incredibly inspired by that and thought, this guy is a bit of me. And he continued to impress me throughout the leadership election, and I thought, okay, MPs, do us a solid and get him through to the last round. However, as we obviously know, that didn't happen, and we ended up having to choose between Kemi and Rob. And I was incredibly pro Rob Jenrick versus Kemi Badenoch, and I've said this on my channel before and I will say it again. Kemi Badenoch was purely voted in on gender ideology policy. Like, that was it. She had the conservative women vote because they wanted somebody else, obviously, who was a woman, to be in power, which again, I understand. And obviously they were very pro women's spaces. Again, from that side of things, you can understand it, but when we've got a whole list of way more important issues going on in this country, it was incredibly disappointing that people were way more pro Badenoch in the end. I have no idea how she got in apart from that though, because people seemed to have their heads screwed on. Like, me and my friend at the time, I remember, were being like, mate, if Kemi gets in, I'm going to reform. Like, I mean, at that time we were a little bit less down on reform than perhaps we are now, but it was a crazy time. And like, obviously when the votes came in, we were just like, mate, we are so screwed. And we were, like, we have been ever since. This is my issue with Kemi Badenoch, and I've said this on the channel before, I'm sure, because it's something I say quite regularly if I'm talking about the Conservatives just in my regular life, is that she has done absolutely nothing in terms of this party, like getting it back off the ground. Like, yeah, she'll say all the usual bump and all the lines about, oh, you know, we had failings and we need to rebuild and this is all fantastic. And it's like, yeah, but you're not the one to do it, love. You're not the one. You are not the one. You've not got enough leadership quality about you. Yeah, whatever. Like, maybe like, she posted a photo of her with Margaret Thatcher on what would have been Thatcher's 100th birthday, which, by the way, was a very big aspect of conference. It's a bit of a tangent. It's a very big aspect of conference was Margaret Thatcher's 100th birthday. They had, like, this sort of museum case as you walked into the Central Convention Centre of like 3 of her like most iconic outfits, which I thought was incredible. I was like, this is great. As a fashion girly, I was like, this is incredible. I'm doing the Trump hands on it. This is so fabulous. We never thought this could happen, but it was right there. I saw it. It was beautiful. Anyway, sorry about that. The little Trump hands there. But it was a beautiful sight. It was. But like, it was lovely. And yeah, obviously this year would have been Thatcher's 100th birthday, and yeah, you can have your views on Thatcher or whatever she did, and yeah, she was obviously not very popular with a lot of people, but she, at the end of the day, was Britain's first female Prime Minister, and she had a massive impact on this country and politics, and how we view politics now. So props to her. She was absolutely fantastic, and I am very proud that she was, you know, she was conservative. Again, I do not agree with a lot of things she did, as a lot of people shouldn't, okay? For what she stood for and how she was so strong, and again, just set the precedent for women in politics. Like, again, she was the first female Prime Minister, and she was conservative, and I think that says a lot, so there you go. But Kemi Badenoch is not Margaret Thatcher. Like, she does not have that same leadership quality about her. I mean, funny that you say that. I mean, the last person who kind of had that, I would say, was probably Theresa May pre-2017 election. The way that she was able to stand up after David Cameron run out the back door after the referendum is something that we should always admire. Okay, the way she was like, I will volunteer as tribute, I will take this country forward, I will do this, and she was very strong, and she loved this country, and you know, that her resignation speech as she was crying about the country is something I will never ever forget. The way she teared up, it's something I'll never forget. As I say, it was a very, very powerful moment, and that was when I was first getting into politics, you know, so it was just great. Liz Truss could have had that, but we all know what happened with her. It literally all went down at 2022's conference, so the lettuce lasted longer. As I said in like the flashcard thing that I did for Gov, yeah. The way they edited me into that, I was being torn apart in the comments, but I think it's the most hilarious thing I've ever done in my life. I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, as I say, Kemi is just not Margaret Thatcher. I think she maybe thinks she could be in her head. That's, you know, as she sort of makes these speeches and things. Maybe in her own head she's like, maybe I could make it. I hate to break it to you, love, but you're never gonna be Margaret Thatcher. Like, you can try all you want, but it's just never happening for you, and that's okay. You don't have to be the best. It's fine. I think she'd be very good in the cabinet. I feel like she'd be very good as like maybe a Home Secretary, or maybe Foreign Secretary. She could be like on the front benches, right? But Jenrick needs to be in the leadership seat. But what really matters is how people are treated outside speeches, and oh my god, was it night and day. Because Jenrick, whenever he popped into a room, was surrounded by people wanting a photo. That man was a friggin' celebrity, and I loved. For the LGBT closing party on the Tuesday night, he came in as a DJ. It was the most iconic thing. Now listen, was I incredibly tired by the end of Tuesday night and literally wanted to go to my bed? Yes, I did. Was I also dealing with some personal life stuff that also meant I was mentally exhausted? Yes, absolutely. But did I stay around for Jenrick? Also, LGBTQ Association, you're not watching this, but if you are, please get a bigger venue next year. I mean, we're going back to Birmingham. Can we just have it in, what is that bar called? That like 80s bar? Yeah, but let's have it in there again, alright? Let's keep it in there, because it's a lot more spacious of an area than what we had in Dirty Martini. Like, it was it was in the basement of Dirty Martini, which even if you know Manchester is a bar, it's like downstairs area, it's kind of more of a downstairs bar sort of club area. So small for the fact that the LGBTQ social is something that is attended by so many people every single year. It is like almost more popular than the Northern Reception at this point, and we were so cramped in there. It was ridiculous. We were so cramped in there. It was so cramped in there. It was ridiculous. So just heads up, don't do that again, because I was not comfortable at all. I was getting so sweaty and so claustrophobic. It was a horrible, like I'm getting, it's like I feel like my skin's crawling just thinking about it. It was terrible. But yeah, Jenrick, iconic moment. And also, Ozempic Jenrick. The man's lost a little bit of weight. I mean, I always thought that he was a little bit nice, but now I'm like, okay. Ozempic Jenrick. I mean, that's a joke, by the way. He did say on a panel that, you know, he runs and like hits the gym sometimes, and he's just careful of what he eats, you know, the basic stuff. But yeah, he's lost a bit of weight and he looks absolutely fantastic. I think he would look even better outside number 10. But you know, the girl can dream, and that is what we're talking about, is getting that dream to be a reality. Come on, Jenrick. But it was so fantastic to see so many people now backing Jenrick. It feels like maybe the people who were backing Kemi at first dipped to reform after they realised nothing was happening. Maybe this is my theory that I'm just coming up on the spot right now. Maybe that's what happened, that they thought, maybe this isn't actually working, maybe we should dip to reform because Farage is giving us more of a light, for some reason, I don't know how, I don't know. But now we're left with the solid people who actually care about being conservative and actually care about this fight and building the party back up, and those who do know that Kemi isn't the one to deliver the policies that we need. They know that Jenrick is the one to do it, and it was so nice to feel like I wasn't going insane. Yeah, this is the main thing I want to take away from this video, is that it was so nice to have people actually be like, oh my god, I was feeling the same way, and yeah, I support Jenrick, and I voted for Jenrick, and I think he's the one to bring the party together, and yeah, I was feeling really down about my membership. I was considering resigning it. Like, I was the same. Like, this is all, you know, we're in this together. Like, that was so nice, because I was expecting to walk into a room of Kemi supporters. I'll be so for real. I was so ready for people to be so pro Kemi and so up Kemi's ass that I wasn't, like, I was gonna just feel the exact same that when I came out than when I came in, and it really wasn't like that, and it was really the opposite. And as I say, it was so lovely to feel like, again, that I wasn't going insane, that I was actually talking sense. I was like, oh my god, wait, so we're all in the same boat, we've all been on the same page, we're all the same, we probably have been this entire time. Oh my god, you guys are so validating. I love you all. And now let's talk about the speeches. You know, we're talking about speeches and panels and things, and I'll be honest, I didn't go to a lot of them. Again, as much as my faith was starting to be restored, I was just there for the social aspect. Like, I wasn't going to actually, like, because I'll be honest, a lot of the panels anyway at a conference are a bit boring. Like, they're just kind of like time consumers just to wait till the evening so you can go to whatever receptions you want to go to. And the receptions weren't too bad. I mean, we'll get into that in a little bit. Like, the panels, as I said, I only actually went to like one actual panel, but I was hearing about the speeches, and some people I know like went to Kemi's opening speech and were going to Kemi's speeches and like and the sessions and stuff. And okay, I'll admit, abolishing stamp duty, not the worst idea you've ever had there, Kemi, well done. I think that could be an election winner. A lot of people on X were saying that after she said that. They were like, this could win the election, this could be what does it for us, woohoo, thank you Kemi for this nice idea. And it's like, yeah, that is a good idea. I will agree that abolishing stamp duty would absolutely help people, because obviously housing and getting young people on the property ladder and all this kind of stuff, and making it easier for people to buy a house and start a family and do all that traditional stuff is something that is very, very important, and it's a big issue in this country. So abolishing stamp duty, I think, is a brilliant idea. Do I think she's the one to deliver it? No, not necessarily. And this is the other point as well. The other thing that she mentioned was obviously the famous 15,000 illegal migrants to be deported in a year if, you know, we get back in power. And again, I'm thinking, okay, well, that's not an unrealistic number, but this is Kemi Badenoch we're talking about, and girl, not only are you not Margaret Thatcher, but you're also not Donald Trump. Like, you can't I don't think you have the guts, if it came to it, to actually do this. I'm sorry, like, it is what it is. I'm really not going to apologise. I shouldn't really apologise for that, because it is something I truly believe. Like, I don't think is the one to deliver that. Again, I don't think the figure's unrealistic. I don't think it's not doable. I just don't think that if it came to it, she'd have the guts to actually follow through with it. So, again, not terrible, and I understand why people are like, okay, like, even from what Kemi said, and I was hearing this from a couple of people. People are like, well, I liked what she said, and she gave me some hope in her ability. And I'm like, okay, you're literally 18, like, screw it, go away. Like, to be honest, I was hearing this from people who were like literal children, so bless them. We all gotta start somewhere, right? But those who were listening to it and thinking, okay, this is a good thing, but again, I can't, like, I'm just gonna say it, like, I think that it'll be Jenrick to do that and not her, was also giving me a lot of hope, so there was that as well. And those are the people I was like actually agreeing with. I was like, yeah, I feel the same way. This is definitely where this is going. So in terms of policies, okay, again, not entirely disastrous. Like, again, could be done, but again, I don't think that she's the one to necessarily deliver it, is all I'm saying. So what were the true highlights of the actual conference for me? I mean, obviously I've just been talking about like how it wasn't the best in terms of the reception because of the funding being down, and has been for the past couple of years, so it's not exactly been the most lucrative event. And, you know, in terms of the actual events and things, like, again, the receptions are the things that we look forward to, and I don't necessarily feel like they were delivering quite in the way that they used to. However, the couple that I did really enjoy going to, and this is the part where I do a little bit of a shout out, I went to, so there's an association called the Conservative Environment Network, and I joined them with my friend last year. Their little tent. They were giving out like red squirrel plushies. They were really cute, and they had like tote bags and things. It was the most adorable thing. To be fair, last year's event, again with leadership election, was just merch everywhere, because it was merch for like each of the leadership candidates, but it was also merch for like the associations and things and the organisations that were there. So it was really like merch central. Which, to be honest, I don't feel like it was merch central this year. That is one thing I will mention. The actual convention centre itself was beautifully laid out. I will not lie, like, that is one thing I will say, again, is that, like, the actual, like, the layout of it and the way that it was all done was absolutely amazing. It was interesting to see the organisations that were actually there, though, because it wasn't as many as it normally is. Like, normally you get, like, the BBC is normally there, and you get, like, a lot more sort of, like, bigger organisations. And there were people, like, Cancer Research was there, and, like, there was a big tractor for, obviously, like, the farmers and UK farmers. Politico did a, sort of mini pub situation, which was really cool. I feel like that, I think it was Politico. Who was that who did that? Those who went to conference, let me know in the comments. I can't remember what the actual thing was, but they literally had, like, a function, like, one of the tents was literally a pub. It was just a pub in conference. It was free, like, alcohol just on tap. It was crazy, but that was sponsored, I think, by, again, like, Politico was somebody like that. It was insane. I mean, as a non-drinker, I was just like, okay, that's really fucking cool, but you enjoy that. I didn't even really get to go inside. Like, there were some people who were saying, like, you needed a special, like, pass to get in there, but then some people were saying that, oh, I just walked in and it was fine, so I don't really know what the situation with that was. But so again, the actual setup of conference was incredible. It was a shame that there weren't as many people there as there were in previous years, because I feel like they would have really enjoyed it if it was like a much bigger thing. But this is the thing with the Manchester venue, they can do a lot more with it, because with the ICC, which is where they hold the Birmingham conferences, it is much more of like a maze of a venue. Like, yeah, they can have stands up like in places, like there are little platforms in between like the escalators and stuff where they can put stands, like a ball ring from like a jewellery vendor, because there's always like one or maybe two jewellery vendors there every year. Unfortunately I didn't buy anything this year. The past couple of years I have bought like something like one of the silver rings I wear all the time, which I haven't got on at the moment, but I bought at 2023's conference, and then I also bought one last year. So they can't really do a lot with the Birmingham venue, but what they can do in Manchester is really like spread it out and make it like a big thing, and it feels really like a conference, whereas the ICC is just chaos. Again, if you're conservative, you've been to the ICC conference, like compared to the two venues, you know very well what I'm talking about. But the actual receptions, Environment Network, that's what I was on about. So I went to a kind of under 30s Sen, because of Environment Network, pizza event at Franco Manca, one of the Franco Mancas in Manchester, because there's two of them. I think there's just two. I was confused that there were two, so I thought there was only one. But I went to an under 30s pizza event with them, which was great, and also felt very accommodated for, because if you guys don't know, I am vegan. I'm not a perfect vegan, but I am vegan, and they accommodated. There was a vegan pizza there. It was great, and I met some people at that. I also went to the church service. If you guys don't know, I'm also a Christian. It was something that is really important to me, and I met. It was actually a couple of people that I actually spotted at that church service that I ended up saying hi to, and then I ended up going from there to the Con Home and BPI Silent Disco event, which they did last year in Birmingham, and it was incredible, and I will never ever forget it. So basically, just to give you guys some FOMO, because a lot of you wouldn't have been there, basically what they did was they put each of the election candidates, the leadership election candidates, made their own little playlist for this Silent Disco event, and so essentially the music was like handpicked by the leadership election. So essentially the music was handpicked by the leadership election candidates, and it was the best event of last year's conference, and it was the best event of this year's conference as well. The people who I met, I apologise so much, because there were a couple of people who I met through that, and then also spotted them in like Spoons later on, who I did give a business card to for the podcast, and I cannot remember your names. I am so sorry. And somebody in Spoons actually said that they recognised me from the podcast, so hello to whoever that was as well. Again, I can't remember your names. I am so sorry. If you're watching this video, please leave your names and everything in the comments. Please comment down below, please. I'm asking you to do this. Because I don't want to forget you, because it was lovely to meet you. So lovely to meet you guys, and great to meet a fan of the podcast as well. Hi. So that was lovely, but so that was nice, because my friend who I was like spending a lot of the time with had gone home at that point because work calls, you know. And that was another thing as well, that, you know, some people weren't even staying for like the whole of conference. I'll be honest, I didn't. I went home on the Wednesday morning. Like, I didn't stay for the closing speech or anything, which is fine. Like, I don't regret that. Like, I don't feel like I actually missed out on anything, because again, I was there to be social and see what the vibe was with the members, and just to get like good conversations in, and that is something I really do feel like I did. So yeah, I don't feel like I missed out a lot by going home on that day. And that isn't another thing that I kind of wanted to make into almost like a concluding point, because we are towards the end of this episode now, is that at the end of the day, and this is something that I've always felt, but even more so after this year's conference, is that the party is truly made up. Where the frick is my cream bronzer gone? My cream bronzer's disappeared, guys. I don't know where it's gone. Where's my cream bronzer? Oh, it's there. Found it. Okay. That is one thing that I do want to say, and this is something that I've always felt about the Conservatives, and when it comes to any kind of party politics really, but especially Conservatives, with how our reputation's gone up and down over the years, is that the Conservative Party at the end of the day is made up by the members. It's made up by members and councillors. Like, the true strength of the Conservative Party will always be in its members, and those who work so hard locally in constituencies and in local elections to ensure that local communities are run smoothly and well, and that council tax is low and, you know, infrastructure improves and things like that. You're always going to get that through a Conservative council. You're always going to get that through Conservatives and those who believe in Conservative values. And again, if you think that Conservative values aren't being upheld by MPs or those in Westminster power, then, you know, it is up to us as members to come back to and sort of reconvince those in power through party conferences and through, you know, local politics especially, where our values are. And the fact that we still believe in, like, the small c Conservative values that are what the party is meant to be founded on, is meant to operate by. And truly that is what I feel like was revived at this year's conference. And that is what I feel like truly was revived at this year's conference, was that belief in being Conservative and what it means to be Conservative in 2025 and what it means to be Conservative with a party that's trying to come back from itself and really rebuild from failings. I know it's been said over and over again, but truly that is what we're trying to do, is come back to what we're meant to be. And I truly feel like the fight is not dead. It never really has been dead necessarily, but like it died a little bit because we just weren't together as much and we weren't having these conversations and we weren't saying like, hey, I believe in this and I believe in this party and I believe that we can come back from this. So if you are looking at reform and you're thinking, I don't agree with those people, if you're looking at any other party and if you're thinking about any other party, if you're looking at politics overall and you're thinking, where do I go? This isn't for me. There is hope. I know a lot of people won't necessarily agree with the Tories or the Conservatives at all, but you know, there is hope there. There truly is hope, and I really feel that. That is what this party conference did for me, and I know it did for many other Conservatives as well. There is still a hope there. There is still a hope, and I know that, you know, mainstream party politics isn't always everyone's cup of tea, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of faith, at least in the people, not necessarily the politicians. Let's forget them for a second. You know, the people behind the Conservatives, the people, you know, in that, having the conversations at conference or now at, you know, meetings or, you know, the association meetings and things like that. You know, after this conference, I feel like there is a sigh of relief of going, okay, we are in this together. And I feel like now we're starting to ramp up a little bit as local elections are coming up. You know, some people have got them this year, and there's a lot of people who have got them in 2027. But, you know, a lot of seats will be up for election. We have got to keep what bit of blue spirit we can and then build back up to 2029. And truly, the only way that we are going to be able to survive 2029 is with Robert Jenrick. I said what I said, and I've said, a lot of people will say the same. Rob Jenrick is the only way that the Conservatives can get anywhere at this point in this century, okay? This is the only way that this can happen. I'm gonna do my lip off camera and then I'm gonna come back with a few concluding thoughts like I normally do. So, be back in a minute. I just feel like this look with the new hair, isn't this me? This just looks like me, doesn't it? It's great, I love it. So yeah, as I say, the fight is not over, the fight is not done. There are still people who care about what actually matters in this country, who don't follow the mainstream like the Westminster narratives, who never have. This is what I've been preaching on the channel as well when I talk about local politics and me being involved in local politics and what I've heard on the doorstep and people that I've campaigned with. This is something we're always trying to convince people. It's like, don't listen to Westminster when it comes to local politics, because the people who are on your doorstep campaigning for your local community, I can guarantee, especially the Conservative, a lot of the time they will not agree with what's going on in Westminster. Like, it's completely two different worlds, okay? And if you're thinking, yeah, but the Conservatives aren't conservative and, you know, they're not following the values, yeah, we know and we agree, and it's the people who say, yeah, we agree, who are the ones who are following through with those conservative values, you know, those who actually care about bringing this country back. And yeah, the people who were coming out of conference going, you know what, I'm so glad that I came here, I'm so glad, like the councillors I was talking to were like, yeah, I'm so glad that I came, I'm so glad that I'm having these conversations, I'm so glad that, you know, I actually made the effort to come here, and you know what, now I'm gonna come again next year because of it. You know, there was a few people who were like, well, maybe I'll come this year, but I don't know about next year, but it might not be. I don't want to really want to make the effort, but I'm now like, you know what, yeah, I am gonna make the effort, and you know, I'm gonna do this because this, you know, this has revived my spirit. This has made me feel really good about being conservative again, and I said I'm proud to be a conservative. You know, like I said at the beginning of this episode, you know, this is how I am at the moment, which is something I never thought that I'd be able to say in 2025. And I'm so glad that I went, because I bought my ticket on an impulse. It was such a last minute thing. I bought it like just based on an intuitive notion that it was going to be worth going, and I bought it, what, like maybe 2 or 3 days before the price was going to shoot up. And you know, I've got a couple more years before I'm no longer a young conservative and everything goes up for me, so we'll see where we are by the time it gets to 2029. But I am so glad and proud that I went, and it is such a nice feeling to actually feel like, yeah, I still belong here, I still belong in this space, and it's, you know, which is something that we all want just as humans, you know, it's a thing that we all want, like this feeling of belonging. But I feel like I've found that again with the Conservatives, and again, I'm really glad that I went, and I know that I'm not the only one who feels that way. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it was a little bit informative, a little bit of a fun little recap of our Conservative Party conference. The one thing I will say as well is that the outfits absolutely slayed this year. I did myself so proud because I was so unbothered about all the panels and speeches and stuff, and so unbothered about Kemi. I was just like, you know what, if I'm gonna do one thing, if I'm gonna be bored, I'm at least gonna look good being bored. And the outfits absolutely said. I'll put a few pictures up if you don't follow me on Instagram. If you do, you've probably already seen these, and if you don't, you probably should. It's nothing to do with politics. I do like fashion and other kind of alternative content over there, so you know, if you're interested in the makeup side of things and the fashion side of things, then go over to my Instagram. It's in the description always, as well as all my other social media and how to contact me and things like my emails down there as well for this channel. And yeah, again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if I met you at conference and I don't remember your name, I'm so sorry. Do you please leave a comment and let me know you're here. Hi. It's okay. We're gonna be okay. There are people with their heads screwed on, okay? As much as we might not always necessarily trust the Westminster politicians, there are people underneath that and in party politics and the membership bases of these parties, especially Conservatives, who do have their heads screwed on. There is hope. I am seeing so many little glimmers of hope, even outside the Conservative Party recently, with the conversations I've been seeing on social media and things like that. And I would love to know all of you guys' thoughts in the comments, whether your views have been changed based on what I've said, or you want to ask me any questions about what else happened at conference. Again, leave them in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I think that's like the 4th time I've said this. If you're curious about the makeup side of things, as always, I'll leave everything that I've used in the description, and I will see you guys in hopefully next week's video. Hopefully I'm now actually going to be back to weekly podcast episodes like I used to do. Stay tuned for that. Make sure to subscribe and have the notification bell turned on so you don't miss that, and I will see you guys in the next one.